Texas Tech to BYU, and even Cincinnati. The Big 12 is sending a message to the country that the country won't appreciate. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. We will start with a complete rundown of every game for the Big 12 this weekend, going game by game and giving you the highs and the lows. Then ESPN is mad at Texas Tech. That's right. They are absolutely fuming over one thing that Cody Campbell is doing and another thing that Joey McGuire is doing, and that's winning. And we'll finish with West Virginia. Did we just learn that BYU has too many flaws to be a legit contender in this conference, or should we still believe if you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job? By the way, tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern time, 10:30 maybe, True TV. I'll be broadcasting on national television for Banana Ball. Not the first time. I just don't usually mention it. Thought I'd mention it in case you're awake and around and don't want to watch the NFL because it's not as good as college football. Let's dive in. TCU Colorado is exactly where I will start. Here's the good news. Here's why I think the Big 12 is in a very good spot after the games this weekend. Because our teams at the top of the conference, our contenders, mostly won. And moreover, our teams with players who will contend for national conversation pieces, national awards, also won. 35-21 TCU covers over Colorado. Caden Salter's not going to be the answer. He's not going to win a lot of games in Boulder this year. Deion Sanders is reeling with that. I don't know who you go to at quarterback. It's not Salter. TCU, Josh Hoover, didn't have a great game. Didn't have his best game. 275 yards, 4 touchdowns, 23 for 33. This is a sloppier game you've seen from Hoover, and he's still a Heisman-level quarterback. Had a rushing touchdown to 5 total touchdowns. TCU continues to win. If TCU continues to win, and Josh Hoover keeps putting up numbers like these, Robert Griffin III mentioned it on the broadcast. He is a Heisman-caliber quarterback. He could win that award. We saw RG3 win it during an Alamo Bowl-type season. We saw Travis Hunter win it during an Alamo Bowl-type season. 2 Big 12 players who didn't get to the college football playoff or a national championship and still brought home a Heisman Trophy. Hoover could do it. Texas Tech and Houston. Man, here's the good news. Houston's still just a one-loss team, and I think their defense is very good. Here's the other news, and I'll spend a ton of time in the middle segment talking Texas Tech. Here's the other news. They are a college football playoff, the Red Raiders, a college football playoff caliber team, and a team that could win multiple games in the playoff. This is arguably, and I know we're only through the first half of the season, arguably the best defense the Big 12 has seen in a decade plus. They've allowed 1 first-half touchdown this entire college football season. They are doing insane, cruel, and unusual things to people. Baron Morton, 28 for 40. Good. 345 yards. Very good. 1 touchdown. Fine. Didn't need too many more. The defense was so good for Texas Tech. And honestly, I think we learned that Houston's defense is good. Well, they gave up 35. Okay, Texas Tech scores 35 on everybody, apparently. And also, let's take into account, and Houston and Utah, Houston and BYU are built fairly similarly. Rely on the defense here. Texas Tech's just that good. What we learned is Texas Tech's offense got to get better in the red zone. We can't just go field goal, trade a field goal, come college football playoff time. Kick the rust. Hopefully Connor Wegman's okay for Houston. Now, by the way, Colorado, I should have mentioned earlier, kept turning the ball over too. It just wasn't a very good game. Caden Salter had 3 picks. Not good. Iowa State, Cincinnati. Here's why, again, I've got good news for the Big 12 Conference. We now have another team that should be ranked. The Cincinnati Bearcats should be in the AP poll. We should see Iowa State. We should see Utah. We should see BYU, Cincinnati. We should see Texas Tech, Arizona State. We should see 5-6 teams out of the Big 12 Conference in the top 25. What we got. Okay, so this is, and for Iowa State, you're missing 2 corners. I didn't think that was the complete issue here. Cincinnati tried to give you opportunities for you to win the game. Tried to give Rocco Becht opportunities for you to win the game. You could not expose a Cincinnati defense that's been good, that analytically is very good. Rocco Becht, 30 for 48. That's not great. Like, that's really, really not good. QBR of 48.2. Cincinnati's defense, I'm sorry. Like, I wasn't familiar with your game. That was spectacular from the Bearcats, not good from the Cyclones. 38-30, but here's what's good. I'm going to go back again to the rest of these matchups. Baylor over Kansas State. Possible Heisman Trophy winner in Sawyer Robertson. He should at least be in the conversation. Led the nation in passing yardage. They're still throwing touchdowns. Robertson today, similar to Hoover, I didn't think he had his best day ever. 25 for 39 is not great. 345 yards, 2 touchdowns, QBR of 77.8. Robertson still going to be in the conversation for the nation's leading passer after this weekend. Still going to be a dark horse, an outsider, but a guy that we talk about when we talk Heisman Trophy. So if Baylor and TCU are winning, especially against Kansas State and Colorado that aren't 2 teams in the Big 12 who are at the top of the conference, that's good for the league. We need the ranked teams or potentially ranked teams to win. Iowa State falling on the sword adds another ranked team to the fold of the Big 12, adds more conversation to the Big 12, with Cincinnati being now a national contender and hopefully a top 25 team. TCU, Baylor, Arizona, those schools winning are 1 and 2 loss teams winning that could vie for a conference title at the end of the year because this conference is just that freaky. They need to keep winning. It makes the conference look good. We need, and I'm sorry that you have to hear this, we need Oklahoma State to lose out. We need Kansas State to keep losing. At this point, you might as well say goodbye to Colorado and UCF. We need Kansas to keep winning. We need Houston to win. We need Texas Tech to win. Cincinnati to win. Arizona, TCU, Baylor. We need the teams in this conference that are winning to keep winning. And here's what happened. Here's what happened in our slate this weekend. West Virginia lost. That's a bad team who lost. UCF lost. They've proven in conference play to be a bad team. It's a bad team that lost. Colorado lost. Haven't won a conference game yet. It's a bad team that lost. Oklahoma State lost. Bad team that lost. Kansas State lost. Bad team that lost. So your good teams, you have 2 matchups between Texas Tech and Houston, Iowa State and Cincinnati, where all 4 of those teams I think are good. But the rest of the league didn't cannibalize itself. Every year you keep telling me, oh, the Big 12 is going to and you're going to hear Big 12 podcasters, pundits around the nation be like, well, you know, the Big 12 conference, and they're not even that good, and it was a bad weekend for the Big 12 because you didn't have Iowa State win and keep their spot. No. I'd love to see Iowa State find their way to the number 19, number 20 spot in the country, Cincinnati be number 23. That's great for the league. I think Saturday was a mark of a Big 12 conference that's in a very good spot. What do you think? That's why there's a comment section. I think so the next conversation I want to go into is Texas Tech, because for the Red Raiders, the country hates you, and I'm sorry I didn't divulge completely into the Baylor game or divulge completely into Arizona or even into Kansas and UCF. I'm going to go into deep detail of BYU and West Virginia later. But those games that I told you, the team that could win and should win won, so we're happy. Texas Tech, America hates you. America hates you for the best reason possible. Locked on Big 12. Oh, excuse me there. Did you say that today's show is brought to you by Peloton? Because you'd be correct. You've heard of Peloton. Freaking awesome, man. I love them. Like the big sponsors, I'm like, wow, we're sponsored by Peloton. They're shaping the future of fitness with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. Their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move. Gents, use it. Ladies, love it. Whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors, it can all be done with Peloton. I love the Peloton IQ system that offers real-time strength coaching. Real-time coaching actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. There's a swivel screen that is a game changer. Personalized class recommendations keep you engaged as well. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push forward. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. Visit onepeloton.com. Do it today. Let's visit our old friends, Texas Tech. America hates Texas Tech now. Why? Because they're doing the exact same thing as Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia. Yet Nick Saban goes on College Game Day and he says, oh, yeah, that Texas Tech school, man, they bought that roster, didn't they? They spent a whole lot of money on that roster. I think Texas Tech beat a very good Houston team 35-11. I still believe Houston's defense is in the top half of the Big 12, and they're going to win some games. In the middle of this game, Hayes Fawcett tweets, Jalen Brewster, 5-star defensive lineman, has committed to Texas Tech, 6'3", 300 pounds from Cedar Hill, Texas, choosing them over Ohio State. But you listen to the broadcast and Dave Pasch, this is from John Kurtz, says Texas Tech spent an astronomical amount on its roster. It's hilarious, Kurtz says, how differently this gets talked about versus similarly priced SEC and Big Ten rosters. They keep telling me, again, I turn on College Game Day. Saban goes, oh, Texas Tech spent so much money. They keep telling me, Dave Pasch, whoever, well, they got a billionaire in their back pocket. Do you understand? Walmart is a thing, and the Walton family all went to the University of Arkansas. Do you understand that, like, Dave Portnoy, who owns a multi-billion-dollar company in Barstool, is a Michigan alum who publicly bought them a quarterback who is working for Fox every Saturday, who's working with the Big 12 now? And I'm not mad at Walmart. I am not mad at Dave Portnoy. I am mad at the coverage ESPN, at the coverage of Fox, at the coverage of whoever is covering Texas Tech, and them saying every time they bring them up, well, yeah, Texas Tech's good because they bought their roster. Show me a team. Show me a team in the top 25. Show me a team in the top 20, the top 10, the top 15 that did zero NIL. Show me a team that didn't, in your words, buy a player. This is a defense that has allowed 7 points in the first half. So one touchdown, I should say, in the first half all season long, like 10 points combined. This is a Texas Tech roster that has been curated with money, no doubt. But you understand there are still schools paying a lot more than Texas Tech, and more than that, there are schools like Florida State who went 2-10 last year that they spent millions of dollars on NIL. There are schools like Penn State or Texas who combined their best win is against Villanova, Sam Houston State, UTEP. And those two schools are spending the caliber, if not more, of a Texas Tech. Texas is giving all of their kids Lamborghinis or whatever it is. And they're losing. Florida State's losing. Alabama lost to Florida State. Georgia lost. Like, these teams that are losing, that also bought their rosters, that also bought their players. You know what's different? You know what's different about Texas Tech compared to Texas? What's different about the Red Raiders compared to Florida State? Culture. You took a guy in Cody Campbell who has the best interest of the kids at heart, the best interest of the Big 12 Conference, of having continuity in regional rivalries. He has all those interests at heart. And you said, hey, Cody, you got some deep pockets. Can you help out? He said, not only will I help out with Texas Tech, I'll help all of college football. I'll march to Washington, D.C., and I'll look at these people, I'll look them in the eyes, and I'll say, hey, this has to change. This has to change. And then from there, ESPN and Fox, they say, we're not running your commercials. Everybody's got a prize. But the second ESPN's like, oh, he's being mean to the conference commissioners. And they've got them. Those men have ESPN by the very tiny cojones when it comes to college football. They've grabbed them. And those commissioners said, no, if you want your billion-dollar product to succeed over here in the SEC, you're going to have to work with us. Don't run that commercial. And when you talk about Alabama, don't mention the money. When you talk about Ole Miss, don't mention the money. When you talk about Texas Tech, though, when you talk about BYU, you've got to mention the NIL. And that's what I want to go a bit here to wrap this thing. BYU's in a very similar boat. There are people across the country and some of them are Utah fans that are just kind of making jest of this, but others are on national television. Others are on podcasts and shows saying, well, how's BYU a religious school? If they're going to pay all these kids money, how are they a religious school? Like, as if that's this thing, it's a thing that can't exist. The $1 million you'll put into AJ DeBanzo, the multi-million dollars you put into Rob Wright, or basketball wins, or Bear Bachmeier, or any myriad of the football players, the high caliber football players that BYU is landing now, the Ryder Lions of the world. Those millions of dollars are going to come right back into your pocket via marketing. And when you're Texas Tech, marketing's huge. The $1 million you could spend on a billboard is now being spent on an athlete who's going to win you a national championship in a various sport. For BYU, it's the same thing. For Texas Tech, you're at the top of college athletics. The Big 12 is at the top of college athletics. For BYU, your whole mission is to spread a faith. Your mission is to be on mission, right? So the more people that hear about BYU via athletics, Jimmer Fredette via athletics, the more people who can now understand what it's like to be a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the more people who look at it, who experience it, the more the Texas Tech wins, the more legitimized the Big 12 becomes in college athletics. But that scares people. It scares ESPN. It scares the executives. They don't want that. It makes them uncomfortable. That we have multiple schools now in the Big 12 conference that are spending with the big boys. And when you spend with the big boys, you have arguably the two most elite defenses in the Big 12 conference. Houston went a combined 10 for 25 throwing the football, 164 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, running the ball, 30 carries for 103 yards. That is combined 267 yards. Texas Tech's defense was just like that. Houston's leading receiver had 2 receptions on the game. Texas Tech's defense, and I hope Jacob Rodriguez is okay. At the time of recording, I don't know. I hope he's okay. Texas Tech's defense, elite, man. One of the best in college football. But if they win a national championship, and I think they could, if they win a national championship, the rhetoric will be, well, they bought their roster. Hey, buddy, the rings all still fit the same. The banner still gets to go up, and it says the same thing as every other banner for a national champion in history. Oh, and if their quarterback goes down, they've got a really good one on the bench, too, who might be as good. They're going to be even better next year with Will Hammond at the helm and whoever else they get, because they have culture, man. And a lot of these schools, BYU, Texas Tech, have culture. A lot of these schools with a whole lot of money don't have culture, and they're going to keep losing. Coming up. But all that talk of BYU, are they fool's gold? Today's show is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Oh, you're here because of Square. Square is exactly where I go. Square is exactly where I go to help support my local businesses. I go to Island Daiquiri down the street and I get multiple beers. I get a couple beers and I say, hey, thanks for letting me spend my Thursday afternoon happy hour with you, getting 2 beers, hanging out with the locals here on Wilmington Island, Georgia. Can I pay you? They say, yeah. Pull that little thing, put my card in or do the phone tap thing. And thanks to Square, there are certain businesses that make the neighborhood, and my businesses in my neighborhood stay alive and run off of Square. One of those, Island Daiquiri. Sports are something that bring the neighborhood together. Island Daiquiri brings this neighborhood together, and Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. Go to square.com/go/LockedOnCollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see ya in the neighborhood. FanDuel, also a proud partner of today's show here on Locked On Big 12. FanDuel is offering you something crazy. The NFL season is here. College football is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. Get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet. Just pick any bet. Put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. Build parlays, try player props, all of it makes watching football even more exciting. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today and get started with FanDuel. Visit FanDuel, download the app today. Here is my issue with what we saw tonight from BYU and the West Virginia Mountaineers. Take number one, if you are without Jack Kelly for a long period of time in a clunky blowout win, it's a net loss. I think if you're a BYU fan, here's what you have to look at this from the lens of. I've mentioned this before. In the Big 12, you want to be Santa Claus. Tim Allen kills Santa Claus. Tim Allen becomes Santa Claus. For BYU, the more you win, the more you need to win for the Big 12 to succeed. It's the same thing for Texas Tech, same thing for Iowa State. For Houston, the undefeated teams need to stay undefeated in the Big 12 conference. That said, in a game like this, while staying undefeated is very important, staying healthy is doubly important. If BYU, can we agree on one thing? I feel like a wise sage in saying this, and you should hopefully be like, yeah, it's a good take. If BYU wins this game 35-34, but Jack Kelly stays healthy, it's worth it. Some sort of like shoulder, arm injury for Kelly. If it's a dislocated shoulder and he's back in a couple of weeks, awesome. If it's something that is prolonged, not good. This was the sloppiest I think I've seen BYU play throughout the game. The Colorado game on the road against a much better opponent than West Virginia, you fought your way back. You clawed your way back, a slow start, a bad start. This was more of BYU immediately attacks West Virginia and then kind of forgets to play football for a little bit. The turnovers for Bear Bachmeier. In some like weird roundabout way, this was like a Twilight Zone Friday night game at 10:30 Eastern time. Bear Bachmeier had, I thought, his most impressive game of the year. Looked really good running the football. Looked really good at a couple of passes that were just dimes, like middle of the field, dot. Lead a guy over the shoulder. Find the right guy on the right slant. Lead him to the point that a Chase Roberts or Parker Kingston can gain 40 yards on a play because Bear Bachmeier just put the ball in the right spot. But then again, he finally started turning the ball over. And I saw different comments of folks that were in the Locked On Big 12 Twitter comments saying, like, this might kind of be on A-Rod. Like, guy loves the speed option. There's the fumble where Bachmeier goes to pitch and a West Virginia guy just knocks it out of the air. Bachmeier finally throwing interceptions. West Virginia pulling turnovers from BYU late. And it's like all the momentum you built early in this game, if you are BYU, just got fizzled out. And by the end, it was just get us out of here. Let's just end this game. I think the Jack Kelly injury could have been a big part of that. Now, LJ Martin, once again, great. I thought, again, Bear Bachmeier, despite him having his worst game, he kind of had his best game. Like, if you watch this, I hope that makes sense to you, where you're like, the freshman is growing up before our eyes and throwing passes that a freshman probably shouldn't make, usually doesn't make. At the same time, the turnovers were there for the first time. And statistically, BYU 4 for 12 on third down. Bad. 4 for 4 on fourth down. As good as it gets, actually. 516 yards. Only allowed 291 yards. But then the random weird quarterback for West Virginia comes in at the end, throws that long touchdown pass. I was like, oh, okay. Great. Where'd that come from? BYU 14 yards per pass. That's really good. 165 rushing yards is fine. 42 for 165, 4 yards per carry, 4 yards in a cloud of dust. Like, do it. But 10 penalties, 3 turnovers. You dominated time of possession, even though the penalties were bad and the turnovers were bad. But overall, I don't walk away from this game as someone who is actively rooting for BYU in the same way I'm actively rooting for Texas Tech. I am actively rooting for Iowa State. I am rooting for Houston. I am rooting for every team in the Big 12 conference to keep winning at the top. I need the ranked teams, the Big 12, to win at the top. Arizona State, I need you to win. I need these schools to continue to succeed. I need BYU to continue to succeed for the conference to ultimately have stalwarts in college football. I didn't think that BYU necessarily gave me the confidence to say, yeah, this is the Big 12 title team. But here's what I will say, and especially if Jack Kelly is healthy. Bear Bachmeier threw for 351. And the other upside of this game is that the Cougars, this is a fun one, played on a Friday night where there was no other major college football game, no MLB game, there was no NFL game. This was college football. This was football. If you watched it tonight, you probably weren't tuned into New Mexico. You're watching BYU. What the country saw was a 21-3 BYU win. And then they turned their TV off. We know this. I've mentioned to you before. This is where the Big 12 won tonight, where BYU won tonight. Brett McMurphy, old man Brett McMurphy, I like him, by the way. But he tweeted out his AP poll a couple weeks ago while games were still going on. Brett was going to bed. He was done. I'm going to sleep. Most of the country that cares about college football, even the committee members, the AP poll voters, they watched until it was 21-3 and said, dang, this BYU team is legit. This BYU team is a Big 12 championship, possibly college football playoff caliber team, and that's massive for the Big 12 conference. That's where we as a league win. That's where we as a league succeed, is when you blew them out in the pivotal opening moments to the point where most of the country was like, you know what? Yeah. I accept it. BYU's good. Click. They missed the Jack Kelly injury. It's not like you can necessarily hide from it. But honestly, when it comes to the AP voters, you can kind of hide from it. When it comes to the average college football fan, look, let's be straight up. They don't know Rodriguez at Texas Tech, Kelly at BYU, Corleone at Cincinnati. They don't know Big Citrus at Iowa State. Like the best defensive players in the Big 12. The average college football fan probably couldn't name you a single defensive player. They only know the Nussmeier kid and March Manning, right? So if you lose Jack Kelly, if the tree falls in the woods and no one's around, did it make any noise? Did Brett McMurphy know that Jack Kelly went out? I don't know. Like you almost win by virtue of you blowing out West Virginia by such a large margin to begin this game. And that is a kind of rose or royal blue colored glasses way to look at this. But honestly, it's actually how college football fans operate. I think, if I may be so bold, I'm making a pretty good point to you here that ultimately BYU's in a fine spot. I as someone who will watch these games with a critical eye, I didn't love this, didn't think it was top notch, was worried toward the end, the killer instinct, killer mentality. Like Utah killed West Virginia, put them away, said, thumb goes down, thumb always goes down. BYU didn't do that. I'm not exactly ecstatic with that if I'm rooting for top teams in the Big 12, but most of the country is like, yeah, they blew out West Virginia. You won for West Virginia. Gosh, love Rich Rodriguez. Did you find your quarterback late in this game, by the way? Scotty Fox Jr., is he the guy? 3 for 3, 54 yards and a tutty. I don't know. We need some help. Next year is the year, West Virginia. Next year is your year, right? Please tell me I'm right. Like, you got to do something. Yeah. Well, this was one of the Big 12 games of all time. BYU wins it, and congrats to BYU fans. You're still undefeated. You stay in the top 25. Like, you continue to rise, and I think that rocks the conference. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.